Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reactaholics, Season 3, baby!
Woo!
Damn! Dang! We are making some changes this year. First of all, the cast will hopefully be bigger. We can get more people in. The sadder part is Ron, of course, Ronald Smith, the King of Sand People, is going to be taking a step down from a normal cast member to a guest member. So don't worry, Ron will be back, but unfortunately, it is going to be lessened. But that being said, we got a lot of new people going into 2020. We got a lot of returning people. We're going to make the best. And let's meet all of those beautiful people, starting with the most beautiful. Hello, Will.
Hello. Yeah, you're so flattering. You are so flattering.
Ooh. How you doing, man?
I am doing quite well, thank you. I am starting up college again on Monday, so that's been going through my head. But other than that, been good.
All right. Well, let's also move past to probably my partner in all this. So Calum, you and I are going to do something together, and it's not what you think, audience.
Damn it.
I mean, there are people who want it, but
Shut up, Neil.
you know exactly who I'm talking about. But so this year, me and Calum, year of 2020, we have some New Year's resolutions.
Oh yeah,
Calum,
that's
would you
right.
like to talk more about that?
Oh yeah, C and I came to an agreement, and you gotta fill out your end of the bargain too, because that way we don't know each other. I have agreed not to sing during the podcast episodes.
And unfortunately, for myself and everyone watching, I have agreed to attempt to try and swear less. As you have noticed, I have not yet sweared, and I promise I wanted to. But it's okay. This is a new step. I'm getting the help I need, and with you and your support, I will get through 2020 without swearing. I might not be alive, but I'll get through without swearing, dang it. But let's move on. How are you feeling, AJ?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am Neil. I'm never fully good.
Aw.
I'm just a little. You know how in that one scene in Indiana Jones, whatever her name is, it's in Temple of Doom. It's the second one. I think her name is
Willie?
Willie.
Yeah, you know how she was just enjoying her dinner,
Yeah.
and then it was revealed that it was monkey brains? That's my personality.
Okay.
You hang out with me for like a day, I'm a normal guy, but then there's the monkey brains. And of course, someone who is very familiar with me has monkey brains. How you feeling, Mel?
Oh no.
Oh wait, I'm sorry because you have monkey brains. I totally just tuned you out. I'm fine though. Besides being brain dead for a little
Rude.
bit.
Rude. But does that make... Wait, so if we're all the cast of Indiana Jones, I'm the monkey brains. Calum short round.
Oh, definitely.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones.
Mel's Indiana Jones. And I don't know the other people. All the rest of us are monkey brains.
Okay.
There's the cult leader who says Kali Ma and rips your heart out.
That can be Ron.
Oh, crap.
Why does Ron get that part? I mean, I'm flattered that you have me as Indiana. Do not get me wrong, that's a step up. But you couldn't have me be Kalima, the dude that does that?
Ron already has a cult of sand people, so you know, it kind of fits.
Mhm.
So, as I said earlier, season 3, we're making some changes. We finally figured out the reaction stuff. If you want to be in these shows, there is now a way for you to be in it. we have finally figured out this moving text down here, which is really cool.
Yay!
I wanted it to say Kneale is pretty repeatedly, but we're going to settle for this.
For the greater good.
And of course, it's been 3 long seasons, everybody. I think we're ready. It's time for shipping.
Please, no.
No. We have gotten there. It's time.
No.
We need to pick out ship names. No, it's time.
I think I'm good.
I choose the USS Enterprise. I like the USS Enterprise. That's a good ship name.
I'm going with Cal Perfect Vanity. Yeah, if I were you, I'd just leave both of you.
Really? You couldn't even be creative? Like Imperfect Wizard? Ah, shit. My 16-year-old
Or Scott Vanity.
Or Scott Vanity. That's a good one. Let me think.
Does this bring me back to my cringy years?
No, that's what season 3 is all about. Season 3 is about facing the fears we weren't necessarily ready to face.
Are there really fears worth facing?
Yes.
I'd rather
As you can, guys, here I am with Baby Yoda. Our ship name is going to be Baby Noda.
Why?
It's going to be wonderful.
No, why?
I can't think of any for AJ. So, AJ, you will just be the strong, independent woman who needs no man.
Thank you.
And Will...
Oh, God.
Will, you're going to be...
He's gonna be nobody because no more shipping. Like
no more shipping.
The internet has already made it bad
no
enough.
More
with everything.
shipping. No more.
I'm
shipping. Everybody.
But
no
I'm
more
just.
shipping.
But guys.
No more shipping.
No.
Guys.
No more.
Guys.
Let's
Guys.
No, we're not.
But I'm just Ron Darth Potter. I'm just Darth Ron Potter.
Say I. Anybody who is done with the shipping and moving on, say I.
I. Baby Yoda, I noticed you haven't said anything.
Because Baby Yoda does.
He communicated with me through the Force, saying that we should move on.
Good idea, Baby Yoda.
Well, speaking of the Force, we're going straight into the news, and we're going to start with our first Force-related topic, which directly relates to Baby Yoda. Mandalorian Season 2 has been announced. It is coming out this year in fall, so we're going to have to wait a bit. But it's coming. We're getting a Season 2. Any quick thoughts about, like, where you hope the show goes?
Talking as someone who hasn't watched the show, I'm glad you said fall, so now I have a date in mind for a deadline to watch the show so I can catch up.
Fall is your deadline? I told you, we're going to spoil that heck out of that show.
Don't worry, Will. I haven't seen it
future.
Yet.
Should I mute the chat right now?
Can I say something without spoiling?
Well, we're not spoiling it right now. And go ahead, AJ.
Okay, so with how it ended with Mando and Baby Yoda, I hope Season 2 will show what's going to happen from that scene.
I agree. I'm not going to say what that scene is, but I do want to see more of a relationship between Baby Yoda and Mando, like a popular, like a proper kinship to each other.
I mean, I think the whole internet's basically saying that he's Papa Mando and that's his son.
Also, I'm just going to be honest. This is my prediction. I know it's going to happen because this is what you do when you have a cute, popular character. Season 2, Baby Yoda is going to have a new costume. Maybe several.
Oh, definitely.
That usually happens.
He might have several new costumes. They are going to make toys of this little thing. They're already doing it.
They have already?
Yeah, they're already doing it, but they're going to make toys specifically of him in these new costumes.
The question is, would it be like Jedi-related costumes?
I don't know. I know this would never happen, but I would love to see him in like like little Mandalorian armor.
I mean, what did you expect? Baby Yoda is already an internet sensation.
I mean, to be fair, look at him. All right. Moving on a little forward with the news. I don't have my list right in front of me, but 2 trailers are coming out either this week or the next. These trailers are a second trailer for Black Widow and a first trailer for Morbius by Sony. Do we have opinions on this? Because technically, Morbius, at the very least confirmed, is in the same universe as Venom.
Okay, so let me just say this. Venom, I understand why you make a spin-off movie with him. He is one of Spider-Man's most popular characters. Morbius, I love him. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Why make a movie about him? Like, who would, like, outside of, like, the small niche of serious comic book fans like myself and who actually know who that is, who would be interested to go see a Morbius movie? Like, if they put him as a villain in a Spider-Man movie or any other MCU movie, cool, but, like, just from a marketing decision, why give Morbius a character that no one knows about his own spin-off movie? That just makes no sense to me.
I mean,
You have a point.
I would have to agree to an extent, but the only thing I'll disagree with is that for once it will be kind of a refresher. You know what I mean? Because think about it. With a lot of these, comic book movies, they most of the time go after villains that even if you've never picked up a single comic book or never seen any show or cartoon prior to today, you wouldn't know who, you would probably pick like the main person. I think it would be good to start shedding light. I mean, technically, Spider-Man did it with Vulture. Most people I knew had no idea who Vulture was, and being like that they did take some creative liberties with him. Like, for example, the daughter that they showed in there is not actually the name and not actually the daughter that has been in his lore and his history, but they were able to make it work and kind of combined it. I think it's a good idea to start steering away from, villains like Doc Ock or Thanos or why am I spacing
New villains.
his name?
Green
Red
Goblin?
Skull. You know what I mean? And Green Goblin too, being like, because everybody who's anyone now is pretty much a comic book fan, and I say that in quotations because just like most people now got introduced by the movies, and I bet you anything, not a single person who just got into it has picked up the comic books, and nor do I blame them because that's a lot of comic book history. But in order to shed some light on that there's actual villains beyond the main ones that they keep repeating over and over and over again, it's a refresher and it is a risk. But I do agree with you otherwise. It's just like, I don't know if it will be that worth of a risk, but we'll just have to see when it comes out, if it comes out.
I mean, my only thoughts on the subject as someone who grew up with the original Spider-Man TV show, like the animated series, and Morbius was a big guy in that. They did a whole crossover with Blade. It was really cool. I like Morbius. I think he's one of the more interesting Spider-Man villain because he is literally, by all definitions, a vampire. And I think, if they go the right route with this, for the record, this is before I've seen the trailer, so it could very well be, just a generic action movie. But I think what I would do is sort of, frame it as a monster movie with, an action twist.
But please, whatever you guys do, don't make it like a generic vampire monster movie. Treat this character with some respect, please.
I mean, that's the thing about doing these obscure characters. You can kind of change whatever you want, and fans won't care as much as if you, mess with Superman.
As long as doesn't go out with
obviously they're going to have to take some... obviously they have to take some creative liberties, but again, just as long as it's not like a generic vampire movie, I guess I'm fine. Just like
I think
I guess it doesn't. Yeah, I guess it just doesn't make sense.
I think that's the one.
From like a marketing perspective and stuff. Again, like no hate on Morbius, and I think Mel is right. We do need to give credit to like the more underrated Spider-Man villains. I just don't see how, like, from a marketing perspective, giving an unknown one like his own movie, just that's my 2 cents.
Right, and I have to disagree with like Neil on that aspect of making it like kind of like a horror movie or like a monster movie. Because Morpheus, especially since you mentioned the show, he is a pretty rounded character, and especially like you can go they can slip really quick into a stereotypical like vampire trope movie. They can. It's been done to death pretty much at this point, and it's really easy to slip in because, you know, people are like, oh, I see vampires particularly this way or that way. I mean, it's a shot in the dark. At least, you know, someone's taking a risk in doing a character like Morpheus, but we'll just have to see how it goes, and this could either be a make or break, and I'm hoping it's only a make so that way other underrated villains get more of a spotlight than the main guys that we've seen before, both in DC and Marvel. But I think I don't think that they should approach this as a monster movie. I really don't, because he is a rounded character that he doesn't need to have theatrics.
Oh no, I'm not saying like him like has the monster that's chasing survivors. I mean more like him like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, I guess, where we dig into this character sort of deeper and deeper.
Yeah, but I still don't think that would be smart, though, just because he is a vampire at the end of the day. And that can easily be the downfall of a character like that. Like, yes, still stick true with, like, you know, that he is a vampire, but it's really easy to fall into that trope of being like, oh, it's no longer the character anymore. It's just a tropey movie that we've seen
It's
done
going to be
to
proved
death
difficult because there are just some characters who, through their very concept alone, fall under the stereotype. Like Groundskeeper Willie. Oh, he's a stereotypical Scotsman. Or, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes. Oh, typical English detective character. Morbius. Oh, that's a vampire, right? That's Christopher Lee, right? Right?
What? No, it's Jared Leto.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, let's just get out of here. Can of worms has been open. Let's put him back. Nope.
No, then this movie's gonna fucking fail. Just you saying that alone, it's gonna fail. So everyone prepare for it to be a shit show, and he might get screwed again, just like how Suicide Squad was. He should have learned his lesson. But nope, he's a glutton for punishment. I'm done. I quit. I quit. Being like,
I hope it's
go
good.
back to your band. Go back to your band. Your semi-decent band, and just stop doing superhero movies, my dude. Sorry.
You're okay.
I do agree with like lesser characters need more love. Like I've actually wanted to see a movie about Two-Face before. Like just not him as a villain, but I would like to see him like sort of his rise and fall, sort of Long Halloween stuff.
We already got that. It was called The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight already covered that base pretty well.
It was, but that.
Oh no, it did not. No,
Mel
it did not.
Like
it destroyed his fucking.
When you talk about villains in The Dark Knight, are you really gonna say, "Oh, Two-Face was done well"? When Heath Ledger is right over there.
Yeah, but I mean,
no, Heath Ledger was.
Everyone, for Mel's sanity, let us move on. He doesn't like The Dark Knight. That's like how Ron doesn't like Star Wars.
Okay, we can move on to the Black Widow second trailer is coming out. And I thought this would be a good chance because, spoiler alert, we actually, like, one of our first topics on this show was pitching a Black Widow movie. And because of that, I do kind of want to follow this because this show is like, I mean, it's kind of our baby in a way. I mean, we had nothing to do with making it, but we had an idea about it. And isn't that what child creation is all about? No, I don't know what my segue is here, but
I don't know. Make it grow with ideas, and it sort of grows over time with them.
Yeah. It's like planting a tree. See, Calum's got me. We're back on track.
Building it with ideas, and then it grows as a person, able to stand on its two legs. It has a vision, learns how to make it good.
This will be a beautiful movie with 2 legs and arms and a face. A movie with a face and hair.
Ceremony.
It will be a beautiful movie baby. But what did you guys think of the first trailer? And also, what do you hope to see more of in the second trailer? Because for me, I want to see more Taskmaster.
More Taskmaster will definitely be awesome.
Television show.
Yeah. Honestly, the first trailer I got kind of sort of a Blues Brothers vibe, very like, hey, we're getting the band back together, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that they're setting it between Civil War and Infinity War. I'm really excited to see what they do with that.
I think bringing in Red Guardian was a stroke of genius on the.
Oh, they're bringing
writer.
Oh yeah, I think they're bringing Red Guardian for some. Why did I confuse that with Omega Red for a sec?
We'll go on.
All right, I'm done.
Oh, I have a suggestion.
Go ahead, AJ.
I want to know what happened between Black Widow and Hawkeye in Budapest.
AJ, you just became my favorite person.
They better answer what happened in Budapest.
Forget Baby Yoda, KJ. That's the ship.
You're not doing shipping by decree.
Moving on.
I completely agree, though. I have been wanting to see Budapest since the very beginning. And I am super excited. But this actually leads into something I wanted to say. And it's going to be hard to say this without swearing. People of the internet have come up with a theory because in the trailer, Taskmaster has a bow. Hawkeye has a bow. So everybody on the internet is saying that Hawkeye is the villain and secretly Taskmaster. And I would like it, internet, you could just, stop, please.
That wouldn't make sense because this takes place after Civil War and he was on house arrest.
Exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense. He was on house arrest. He wouldn't be a villain.
Yeah, and plus, when his family got taken away, he didn't really become a villain. He just became more of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, fans, you can't live by self-contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call people idiots because that's rude. But
you're idiots.
Like, no, it's just maybe they need to rewatch the movies.
I will say this.
But it's like that automatic thing of, bow and arrow must be Hawkeye. Like, guys, come on.
Right?
I will say this, as the resident super Hawkeye fan, that's a very creative theory. And maybe if it was look, it can't happen. Hawkeye's origin in these movies, one of the key parts is that he converted Black Widow from being like a villain to a superhero. So because of that, it would really not make sense if just randomly in this movie, no, Nat, I'm a villain.
Right.
I'm doing what you did.
Unless this film has flashbacks.
If Taskmaster is only in flashbacks, I riot. I would hate that. And if he's Clint. Look, there's a cool way to do this, and there's a bad way to do this. So my suggestion, don't do this. Don't make Taskmaster Clint.
Right.
Or how about this? What if it's actually Oliver Queen and the DC universes secretly infiltrating the Marvel universe so that they can have the more successful cinematic universe?
I would like that much better than it being.
That'd be interesting.
I would be a lot more okay with that. But moving on. We'll come back to trailers in a minute, but for now, some breaking news today. Doctor Strange has officially lost its director.
Really?
Ooh.
Yep. I wrote down the guy's name, and then I lost it.
Google to the rescue.
Yeah, someone Google it. Someone save my
Are you
self
referring to
here.
the sequel?
Yeah,
Is there
Doctor
a
Strange.
reason?
So, we don't really know about the reason right now. If I had to issue a guess, there's not a lot of information out there yet, but if I had to issue a guess, there seems to be this...
Scott Derkinson.
Well... Oh, what's his name?
Scott Derkinson.
Scott Derkinson.
Scott Derrickson.
Oh, Derrickson. Okay. Well, Scott Derrickson, he is stepping down. If I had to give a guess, I would... Thank you, Mel. If I had to give a guess, I would say it's because he's been saying that, like, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is a horror film. It's going to be Marvel's first scary movie. And what I've noticed is Kevin Feige is saying, no, it's not going to be that. So I'm wondering if the producers and the people behind the scenes have an idea of what they want the movie to be. And then Scott over here is just wanting to do his thing. Maybe it's a difference of opinion. That being said, he is staying on to be an executive producer.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Interesting.
That being said, though, and this is where we come in, Doctor Strange needs a new director. We want him.
I will say
Yeah.
that
I'm sorry,
for
it's a bit
Marvel's
vague.
first... Oh, what were we saying?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, for Marvel's first horror movie, it's an odd choice that it's going to be Doctor Strange.
I mean, I definitely agree. I do think it's interesting, though, because it's called the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So
I think
when
more
I
of
was...
thriller or psychological.
Well, here's the thing. When you hear Multiverse of Madness and you think Marvel, I think everyone's thinking, like, monsters and stuff.
Mm.
But what I instantly think, when I hear the word multiverse, is alternate reality. And I think he might go, I hope this is true because I know it's a trope, I know it's a cliche, but I want to see Marvel do it. Doctor Strange has to go to a universe where all the superheroes are evil. I
Ooh,
want to see it.
that would be
Very
interesting.
comic booky. Now,
I mean,
if I'm not mistaken, aren't we already getting a horror Marvel film called The New Mutants?
well, yes, but that's in the X-Men. Look, we don't know anymore.
I was going to say, because didn't I hear like X-Men would be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, I believe they're going to be rebooted. I know there's talks that Psylocke might be in Shang-Chi, and there's talk that Scarlet Witch might be a mutant now, which I think would be a good way to do it. But I mean, technically making her not a mutant was a retcon, because in the
That
comic
her
she
and
was.
Quicksilver.
I hope Quicksilver plays a role in WandaVision.
Oh, he better.
Which actually leads to our next topic of discussion. WandaVision is not coming out in 2021. It is coming out in 2020.
Oh.
Oh, that's good news.
What are you guys hoping to see from WandaVision? Because personally, I like Vision more than Scarlet Witch.
I was going to say Vision alive. That's what I would like to see.
Honestly,
But I gotta agree here. After Endgame, I love Scarlet Witch. Just that scene of her going after Thanos. I'm just like, I am ready for this show, and I am ready to see more magic in the MCU. Maybe, and Doctor Strange is going to be in the show, so maybe she's going to learn some proper magic.
I will say if they ever let Wanda be a mutant, it would be a really maybe good season finale or good start of the season where she finds her heritage, her parents, making the big reveal to be Magneto.
Yeah, I was going to say, right as you said that, I thought of this. season finale teaser is just a silhouette of a caped person flying.
Yes.
And then like a truck crushes, like there's something metal crushes.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
and then it turns
I am
out
all about this.
and then it turns out the Scarlet Witch. Okay, never mind. I don't want it. I was about to say something. I don't want to say it.
Okay.
Bad,
Anyway,
Bill. Bad.
Anyway, I personally really like the character of Scarlet Witch. I've always wanted more of Vision. Like, I mean, the thing about Vision in the MCU is that he gets such little screen time, but I love the screen time he does get. So I'm just excited to see more Vision.
Me too.
I agree. I think Vision needs more time. Just so everybody knows, Vision is my second favorite Avenger.
First being Hawkeye.
Yeah, of course, man. I am loyal to Hawkeye like
Yes,
a preacher is to the Bible. Yep, okay. But yeah, last thing I want to say about this, and then we can move on, or if Mel has opinions, she can share them.
I've been sitting here trying to, but
Oh, I wasn't trying to shame, but I agree with you, AJ. Pietro better be in this. Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just making sure because some people out there may not know the story of Pietro Maximoff because he was only in one Marvel movie. And then a bunch of X-Men ones, but go ahead, Mel.
so just to make my opinion, like, I'm just going to combine it all into one. So,
Okay.
Doctor Strange being a horror movie, I think it's just going to be trash, especially with Scott being off the project. Even though from what I just read was that it was a mutual agreement from what he's saying, even though I just need to learn to not believe always what the internet says because it doesn't make it true. However, I think it would have been more appropriate if they were going with a psychological thriller, not a horror. I think honestly, even if you were to make all the heroes villains, it's still, I think it's just gonna bite. It's just gonna bite bullets pretty much. And then with Scarlet Witch, turning into a mutant, I was kind of seeing that coming. That was something that they were going to have to do, especially if they're going to try to reboot the X-Men, completely. It's just you need to go in that direction anyways. And then with Vision, I would like to see more Vision. Scarlet Witch is fine, but I think that for a lot of screen time that she does have, there's not really much that she's given except for being you kind of know her backstory, you kind of, you know who her brother is, and then you know that she and Vision had a relationship. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, she's, in my opinion, very bare bones. And with Vision, it's like what Will said, is that he doesn't get a lot of screen time, and the few times you do, you quite enjoy it, enjoy him. So I want to see him expand, but kind of like Scarlet Witch. He's also too pretty, bare bones, but he has a little bit more structure. And I'd like to see that structure build. And that's just my opinion about it.
In the wise words of an old sage, what these characters need is more meat. They need to be meaty. But with that, I believe there is only one final piece of news, and it may be one of the cooler pieces of news. Rian Johnson is wanting to. I wrote down going to, but he says he's wanting to make a sequel about Knives Out, specifically focusing a little bit more on Daniel Craig's character. And I am all about this. Because first of all, I am a big fan of mysteries in general, but Knives Out had such a good cast, and it was just wonderful. I don't want to spoil anything, but Knives Out is amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw it too.
What was
I
that,
unfortunately
Calum?
haven't seen it.
I haven't.
Very much. You're hard to hear. Might want to return, but I heard you.
Yeah.
Are you back, my son? Calum, are you back?
So I am back. So I can hear.
There you are. Yep.
All right.
You're good.
I just said Ryan Johnson is most welcome here.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Last Jedi, but yeah, I like him. And I don't hate Last Jedi. I'm not a Last Jedi hater, so don't group me in with them.
I live for this.
We'll get to that weekend. I'm in the same boat as Neil, honestly. Knives Out is a fantastic movie. And I'm really curious to see where they go with this. I really hope that they make this like sort of like an anthology series because and that they don't just pick up on the thread of the same thread of the last movie with the same characters following the same storyline, because I feel that just wrapped up so nicely. I hope it's just like Daniel Craig's character solving or trying to solve a different mystery in every movie. That I think would be quite sufficient.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Anyone else have Knives Out opinions, or I guess just Ryan Johnson opinions?
What else has Ryan Johnson done again?
Well, The
Star Wars
Last Jedi is a big one.
Oh, then he does not impress me.
You heard it here first. All right. Well, speaking of Star Wars and speaking of Season 3 changing a few things, we are now going to be introducing a new segment to Reactaholics. This is where we talk about a relevant movie, something that could be in the theaters right now, could be just about to get in the theaters, or something that everybody is talking about. For example, this week we will be talking about Rise of Skywalker. Mel, you can go ahead and mute us. We'll message you when we're done, because we are doing spoilers, everybody. Spoilers for Rise of Skywalker.
So, hold on. Let me just figure out how I can turn off this sound.
May the Force be with you.
It should be on your left side.
There's a little microphone.
I know I can move speakers.
Hey guys, you remember that scene when Jar Jar comes back and totally saves the day?
Fuck you, I can still hear you.
Oh no, turn off before we spoil more. Like when Ron came in with the Sand People and destroyed the third Death Star.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. That actually kind of make it the fourth Death Star in that case, because they've already done 3.
Either that or Ron was behind the scenes all the time in Return of the Jedi.
Guys, listen, before we talk about anything else, I have one question. It needs to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
Who procreated with Palpatine?
Okay. That's... Oh my god.
Guys, I just got out the second viewing, so...
Okay, I'm just gonna see my...
So you just recently saw his weird freaking moldy face.
In IMAX.
Well, AJ, as a woman, don't you think that's an attractive man right there?
I will turn off my computer right now if you continue this.
Okay. So yeah, just let me just get this out of the way. I'm just gonna say my general thoughts real quick, and then I'm just gonna let everyone else speak, and then I think I might go into full rant mode. Let me just say, I didn't just like Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I love those movies. I know that saying this on the internet basically makes me worse than Hitler and Stalin combined.
Don't worry.
But Last Jedi is, I'm not exaggerating. Last Jedi.
Pain. Come at me, Internet. Come at me.
Let me finish, Calum. Last Jedi is my second favorite Star Wars movie, second only to Empire.
Wow.
That is, Yes. And which disappoints me to say that I did not like Rise of Skywalker. It's not the worst movie ever. Like, if I were to make a list of the top 100 worst movies ever made, Rise of Skywalker would not even be an honorable mention. But just so many things in that movie just pisses me off so much, which I promise I'll get into more detail. Just I'll let everyone else get their thoughts about it. Go, guys.
Go ahead, AJ.
I was going to say, are we talking Rise of Skywalker or the new trilogy in general?
We're talking Rise of Skywalker right now. We'll get to new trilogy in general.
I will say this is probably one of my least favorite Star Wars movies, but it's not terrible. My mom saw it with me for the second time, and we were like ranting about what we thought about it. And by rant, I mean pointing out some of the issues. And the main one, I think everyone agrees with, is that this series, or specifically this movie, is not really the story that George Lucas made. This feels like fan service. Like, they're just trying to please the fans. You don't really feel that connection you made with the original movies or even with the prequels, because I love the third movie. It's one of my favorites just because I have so much fun with it. I
agree.
With Rise of Skywalker, they were just trying so many new ideas all at once that it didn't give us time to remember why we love these characters, react to some of the new ideas, or just it's a mess.
Yeah, it's a fun mess.
So here I come in. So we've talked about this a little bit, but what I love about this one is everybody seems to be pretty mixed on it. Like, I've seen people who love the movie. I've seen people who hate the movie. I've seen people who are
of these different opinions as well.
Yeah, me too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am willing to say here and now, I think Rise of Skywalker was the best of the new sequel trilogy. I think that... Okay, so it's lost to time now, but we did an episode where we talked about Rey as a character. I feel like Rey was really done well. Oh, also, Chris loved Rise of Skywalker too, and Chris hates life. So since he loved it, that means everything. He also agrees that he thinks it's the best in the new trilogy. But just to finish my thought, we talked about how Rey didn't have much of a character, and there were people in this group who thought that she did have character.
And AJ and Neil had an interesting conversation about Rey as a character.
Let him finish, Calum.
Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. He's just adding opinions. It's okay. You're a good boy, Calum. You're a good boy. I love that you acted like a dog.
Continue, Neil.
Okay, so I was of the side that thought that Rey didn't have a ton to her. I don't necessarily want to call her a Mary Sue, because there's clearly character to her, but you only really see it when she's around other people. Like, she gets her anger and stuff directly from Kylo Ren, and her caring side from BB-8 and Finn. It sort of seems like the only way we can truly see who Rey is if someone else is there for us to clearly see who Rey is. Like, I've always viewed her as sort of like, I don't know, a side course. Like, she's not the main meal. She's not steak. I guess she's like peas. Rey is peas. But in this movie,
you do have a point, but I think I would counter is that because at a young age she was separated from everyone, she didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Is there a chance for her to really get much personality or character then?
Especially if she grew up in a desert.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, AJ, because Calum for the longest time has been arguing, her character is figuring out who she is as a character.
Identity.
And in this movie, I feel like that was best showcased. Like, she is literally battling different sides of the Force in this movie. She has to pick, do I want to be a Jedi or a Sith? She shoots Force lightning. Force lightning! That's like, whenever someone does Force lightning, you know they're evil. And Rey did it!
Okay, you have a point, but this is what I talked about with my mom. Having her being a Palpatine or even a Sith would have been fine if they hinted at with the first two movies, just dropping it on the new movie. That was out of nowhere. There was no build up to that.
I definitely agree, but at the same time, I think we solely have to blame it, and I hate to like drag him through the mud, but
Band-Aids.
Rian Johnson is the one who like directed Last Jedi, and he clearly wanted to go in a different route than J.J. Abrams. If it was my choice, I think I would have had either J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson, for that matter, direct all three. That way we could have had one cohesive story. But for what we got, I think Rise of Skywalker is the best one.
Well, then here's my question. Another thing I pointed out with my mom. Last Jedi ended with the kid picking up the broom with the Force. Why didn't J.J. Abrams address that at least once in the new movie?
Well, what I always viewed that kid as being was just a sign that the Force is still out there and it's affecting people. And I think JJ actually did represent that, talking about how Finn was affected by the Force and this stormtrooper lady. I think that he didn't necessarily do it outright. Like, he didn't say, oh, here's that kid and he's going to be important. Instead, we like just saw that the Force is still a thing and will continue to be a thing, whether we have Jedis, whether we have Siths, or whether we have yellow-wielding Wraiths.
You have a point, but unfortunately, as someone who did love Last Jedi, seeing that scene got me super excited, or like hoping that we could see more of that. But one of my issues with Rise of Skywalker is that the pacing is rushed. There's like little time on these new ideas or old ideas.
I mean, I guess this will be my last thoughts until we like go into like a full review.
Okay.
But my views on that is, I think JJ, and this is something I don't like about him as a director. I remember reading something where he said, I don't have a big problem with lens flares, but I remember reading somewhere that he just intended to use the script he had already written for like this, and because of that he clearly like adapted a few things. But if you think about, Rose was important in the last movie, where is she now? She's in the movie for like 20, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, all these things that were in Last Jedi are just not important now. I think JJ's failure here is he just wanted to tell his story. He didn't want to deal with that stuff. And because of that, I definitely like don't like that, because that affects it as a whole. But in terms of this movie, there is a lot of pacing, but I also think there's a lot of good scenes. For example, Leia is the Jedi Master of Rey. That's really cool.
That was creative. I will
also. I'm
ahead.
Just going to be real. And I'm getting a little choked up about it just thinking. When Han popped up and said, "Hey, kid," I almost bursted into tears. Like, not even kidding. When he did everything, and they're sort of starting to go the route of Force Awakens, and it's like, I don't think I can do this alone. And then he's like, you don't have to, son. And then he throws the lightsaber, and he's like, Dad. And he's like, I know. I was just like, yes! I love this!
That was a good scene.
I will interject. That was a good scene, but imagine if instead of Han, it was Anakin.
You've lost me.
Because think about this. Think about this. Kylo Ren's whole deal at the beginning was that he really wanted to be the next Darth Vader. He wanted to live up to his grandfather's legacy. But of course, we all know that at the end of his life, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader realized that being a Sith wasn't the way to go, and he sort of redeemed himself. So wouldn't it have been nice if there was some scene in this movie where Anakin's and we saw at the end, like we heard his voice talking to Rey at the end. So clearly, his Force Ghost is around somewhere. What if his Force Ghost appeared to Kylo Ren and said, "Hey, trust me, you don't want to go down this same road. It ruined my life. I don't want it to ruin yours."
So here's
I
Here's
just
why
wanted
I'm
to
not-
say two things.
Oh, go ahead, AJ.
Okay, so adding on to Will, I heard Hayden was supposed to cameo along with Ewan and Samuel L. Jackson, but that didn't happen. So I completely agree with you, Will. That would have been amazing. And then I'm going to conclude mine with the main reason why I had a problem with this. I guess the new trilogy is my least favorite out of the trilogy series, just because I feel like with George Lucas, when he did the original and and prequels, there was good and bad things, but it was his story. He knew everything about the Star Wars. We saw that. With the new trilogy, I feel like there wasn't as much heart he put into the story. We were seeing two different stories. Most of it was fan service. We didn't really connect to these ideas as much as we did with the other movies.
Okay.
The Star Wars franchise is really fascinating to study, and Nostalgia Critic recently brought this up, how the prequels were bad, but they had the creator's vision, whereas the sequel trilogy, you could argue, as good, but lacked the creator's vision.
I watched that video as well.
I actually watched that today.
Okay, here's my thing on that. The original trilogy wasn't planned out at all.
Well, hold on. We do have another topic where we're specifically going to talk about this.
I was about to say, I think Chris said we're at the 50-minute
We're
mark.
talking the sequel trilogy as a whole.
So I just want to say this about Star Wars because, Will, you brought this up, so I definitely want to give my retort. The reason I think Han was more appropriate than Anakin is because, first of all, I don't like the idea of a ghost appearing and being like, hey, no, the dark side sucks. Join the good side. I don't like that. I like that it's Kylo's mind. And that's not a Force ghost. That's that's Kylo's psyche.
Kyle, sorry.
Fighting with himself.
Well, actually, there was this theory that I read that that's what Leia did in her last moment, was put that image of Han into her son's head.
Oh, that's a good theory. I like that. But
there's another element. There's some elements that are really strong in this film, even if majority of it was weak. I like that when after Ben saved Rey, he passed away and he faded, and when he faded, Leia faded as if she finally found peace. That was really heartwarming.
Yeah,
I like that too. I do want to say this upon the Anakin versus Han thing. I think first of all it would be too easy, and second of all, whenever we see Darth Vader, who is Anakin Skywalker, whenever we see him, it's directly tied to Kylo's struggle with the dark side. Sort of, Darth Vader is the figure that's pushing him towards it. Like, literally, when Palpatine is like, I'm every voice in your head, he uses Darth Vader's voice. Because that's the one that's going to hit him the hardest. And I think that if it were like Anakin, I don't know. I feel like that's just, but the darkness became light. And I don't like that. But the idea that it was Han, and Han has always represented Kylo's struggle with the light side. Like, literally, he killed Han. And that was him trying to kill his struggle. So it makes sense when his struggle returns, Han also returns. I kind of like that rhyming and symmetry there.
Calum, I don't think we've gotten like your general thoughts on the movie yet.
Yeah, I've just been sitting here silently before Neil and AJ. So, my thoughts on Rise of Skywalker. This film, in my eyes, is a fun mess, the weakest of the trilogy, and I'm not saying that as a toxic fanbase person. No, I live off the toxic fanbase. It's hilariously hysterical. No, there are some moments here that work really well, and other moments that don't. It's all just a big crescendo build-up to this big finale. It was truly a cinematic spectacle, especially when Palpatine appealed. Like, I could imagine just goose pimples whenever he spoke. Everything. I think it was amazing, especially when he shot lightning into the air. I know the finale was the best, but it was awesome. Just the way it was presented, and the cinematography as well. Rey and Kylo Ren, the main characters, as always, were astounding. They really do steal the show because they have such brilliant character dynamics, and it was great to see Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Ghost, comforting Rey. Other things that C-3PO made it a big part, which I quite liked. I liked the little alien that went.
The internet loves that thing.
I think he's getting a Disney Plus show or something like that.
Oh, fantastic! So basically, side characters were just thrown out the window. It's like they were saying, "Oh, they didn't like Last Jedi. Let's just toss these ideas out the window. Race to the finish line." So unfortunately, we had side characters thrown left and right without much development. They were likable, but on the other hand, there were small moments that made up for it. There was a scene where Lando talks to the girl during the celebration. Hi, do you know where you're from? No? Well, let's find out. That was
Can I talk about that for just a second?
As I'll say, I think they're getting a Disney Plus show as well.
I think they may also be getting a Disney Plus show, but was there, and tell me if I'm just being like vulgar, but did anyone else think that Lando was flirting with her? Like, this is Lando Calrissian.
It wouldn't be out of character for him.
I mean,
It wouldn't be out of character.
Lando didn't do anything, but I thought that was kind of heartwarming.
Yeah.
Other moments that weren't some spectacular fight scenes, especially
okay, guys.
Rey's the next 5 minutes. Okay, I'll make this brief. Rey's healing techniques and the last 2 minutes. I think that was a good way to wrap up the trilogy. And there were some kisses. They were dumb. There was no build-up with Rey and Kylo Ren. What were they thinking? That was dumb.
I kind of like the Kylo kiss, but I don't have time to talk about that. I guess the last thing we'll say about this before we move on. What are your opinions of the yellow lightsaber?
I read that apparently in one comic, if you somehow take out the red crystal or mix it with something, I can't remember, but it turns yellow. So people are saying she went back for Ben's old lightsaber, and it turned yellow. But I can't remember if that was correct or not.
Oh,
that would be interesting.
And
can I please just go into like my full...
Okay, go ahead, Will, but do it quick.
Run.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm sorry, everything about the script, I mean, obviously it's been said before, but Palpatine, he clearly wasn't ever meant to be in there, nor should he have been. Like, at the most, he should have been like a dark side Force ghost, and that's it. Making him the main antagonist of this whole trilogy was dumb as bricks. And Rian Johnson had perfectly set up at the end of the last movie for Kylo to be this trilogy's main antagonist, which would have been refreshing. I don't get this mindset that every major sci-fi fantasy franchise has to have this big, dark, scary, big baddie as the main antagonist. It felt so cool and so unique. No, we're still talking spoilers.
Finish it up, buddy.
Yeah.
Yes, and basically this movie had no story, no character. It was just like J.J. Abrams playing with action figures for 2 hours and 30 minutes. We had no time. Like you had like little moments, like we were just talking about, like Kylo's conversation with Han. That was really nice, but overall there was just like no character. It was just like exposition. And this movie was trying to do way too many things at once. It was trying to be a sequel to The Last Jedi, while also retconning The Last Jedi. It was trying to introduce new characters we had never met before, while also reintroducing old characters, trying to wrap up a trilogy as well as the whole series. It was basically just really overreaching itself. And furthermore, I get it. People don't like The Last Jedi, which is fine.
You got one more sentence. Make it count.
You could have made this movie good for people who both liked Last Jedi and hated The Last Jedi without having to retcon it, like they did with the Clone Wars series. The Clone Wars series made people who like the prequels love it and didn't have to retcon anything in the prequels. There, I'm done.
Okay, good job. Good job. I hope the yellow lightsaber means she's a gray. Good job.
Okay.
But, Mel, you are ready to return. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give the intro. to the next topic. So this topic, to begin our topics off, is sort of just an analysis of Star Wars in general. Sort of talking about the highs, sort of talking about the lows, the stronger moments, the weaker moments. We're just going to look at Star Wars as a whole because according to the marketing, the Skywalker saga is done. So let's take a look at it.
I just want to, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. I promise I'll just like shut up and let everyone else have their piece afterwards. But I think I'll begin this segment by just saying how, like, you know, people are talking about like, this trilogy wasn't planned and everything. The original trilogy wasn't all planned out either. No one, I mean, the on-set drama that was going on in A New Hope was atrocious. No one thought a sequel to this movie was ever going to get made. And if I remember correctly, Vader wasn't even supposed to be Luke's father until like the 5th draft of the script for Empire, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And exactly. So they could have made this whole thing work, but even if, like, don't get me wrong, it definitely would have made things a lot easier if they had everything planned out. And I'm also kind of really calling the original trilogy George Lucas's vision is sort of a huge stretch, because the first Star Wars movie turned out nothing like George had wanted it to. And I'm just going to say this, most of the stuff that people liked about Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were not George's ideas at all.
I didn't know that.
Well,
Exactly.
It's kind of a half truth. So what really went down was it was his first ever, movie of all time, and why it wasn't fully his vision was he actually, at least with the first trilogies, was he asked for a lot more advice, and anytime we threw in an idea, people would advise him like yay or nay, and he would take heed to that. Whereas with the prequels, on the other hand, that was anything that wasn't in the originals were in the prequels. So Will's right to an extent it wasn't his full vision, but it was mostly due to the fact that he wanted, and he asked for a lot of advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't want to hate on George Lucas too much, because in the post-prequel era, he got way too much hate. The thing about George Lucas is I've never gotten the sense that he was only in it for the money. Like, while I do have a lot of problems with the prequels, even though I now recognize them as not good movies, I still appreciate them because I do feel that there is a vision. I've never felt like George Lucas made the prequels just for money. I honestly felt he had a story that he really wanted to tell and a vision. It just so happens I don't think it was a very good story he wanted to tell, but nevertheless, he was very passionate about bringing that story to life. And that is something I will always give him credit for, no matter what. At the end of the day, he just wanted to entertain us. That's all we got. And while it was not good entertainment, we shouldn't have, ragged on him so much as we did. As for this new trilogy, it was going in such a good direction until Disney caved in too much too. And it wasn't even like the right type of criticism of The Last Jedi that they were listening to. It was more like the trolls negative criticism that they really listened to, and what badly affected Rise of Skywalker. If you guys, or if anyone else has negative thoughts on Last Jedi, I get it. Like, even though I love that movie, I admit it's not a perfect movie, but people have to understand the difference between negative criticism and trolling. And I'm done. You guys can all speak.
Okay, so just as a refresher, what was the topic again?
Sort of an analysis of Star Wars, specifically the Skywalker trilogy in general.
That's what I thought. Sorry. I just had like a brain move. I just had a brain fart dead moment.
I will say
I'm
this.
so sorry.
I will say this to your side, Will.
Yeah.
I don't think that Leia and Luke would have kissed if George Lucas knew that he was going to make her his sister.
Exactly.
Well, like
Every-
in my personal opinion as a whole, because I have not seen I've a bit like I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker yet. I just got done watching 7 and 8, and just to branch it up as a whole is like you could tell where Star Wars, started, like kind of playing on with what Will said and what I just commented on was, the first ever movie it was a hit or miss. It could have been a make or break, and you could tell that it was a time where he was still young, he was still inexperienced, and of course, like he wanted this to be as perfect as possible, even with and tell Chris yes if there are, but I think you see different elements. It's kind of like watching a kid grow up, and so Star Wars would be like the perfect golden years, like between like ages like 6 through 10 or 11, and he had like the perfect kid, and being like, yes, it's gonna have flaws, and I do think looking back at them, it's just like you can still see some of the flaws, and it is pretty dated, but it still captures like the whimsy of any person alike.
Oh, aye.
And there's a lot of passion into it, and then with the prequels, I would describe it as rebellious teenager between the ages of like 13, 18, 19 years old. It's he wanted to do it his way. He, added stuff that he couldn't add in the originals at all. And you could tell that this was him, like, getting a bit cocky and a little bit too creative. And I actually just recently watched, like, the prequels, like, shortly after I watched The Last Jedi. And honestly, my opinions are still the same, but I see now why some people may start changing their tune with it's still what I feel like that the sequels are lacking is the spirit of George Lucas. Like, that was his baby. No matter how you string it, and you get sucked into his worlds, even if it's not a good thing. Like, even if you despise Jar Jar Binks to the point that you want to murder him, you still are invested, and you're still sucked into that madness. Same goes with, like, seeing Darth Vader for the first time in the original trilogy. Or seeing, like, the different worlds and seeing the different investments. You saw him. Whereas with so far, just from what I know from seeing 7 and 8, I don't feel that same investment as I did with the prequels and the original. So, not saying that they're bad by any account. Like, yes, 8 was frustrating for me beyond all compare, and 7 was just, it was just a harmless recap of being like, hey, so that way nobody doesn't have to go back if they don't want to, but it's kind of encouraging this franchise that's going to out, a lot of other franchises. It's lived on this long, and it's still talked about, like, with old fans, new fans, like, and then just to wrap up, like, I would see, like, the new, I would see the new trilogies as kind of like, a mid to elder person, where it's like you still get some of the energy. You see that they've, changed quite a bit, but you can tell that they've stopped growing in a sense of being like, what you're going to get. We took out as many flaws as possible and find new flaws, but we're kind of set in our ways. And that's just what I've gotten from it so far. And I just think, either way, it's just like, it doesn't matter how you feel about the prequels. It doesn't matter how you feel about the original trilogy or the, sequels. It's that it's a franchise that's going to outlive a lot more.
I agree. It's going to go for a while.
Yeah.
Right. But the one, just one last comment. But the one thing, though, that is completely negative, and people can fight me on it, because it's so huge, no longer can anyone use Star Wars as a geek or nerd anymore. They can't. You can't say that you're a nerd anymore because you watch it. Everyone watches it now.
Fun fact, this is a little bit of, like, I'll just say it real quick. In school, when I was a little kid, I got beat up for liking Star Wars.
Oh, no, so did I. So did I. I actually had my hair. This is actually the reason why I cut my hair short. I actually had, in 3rd grade, my pigtail, one of them cut completely off by a bully, all because I was a nerd and liked stuff like that at the time. And it was right before the Pokemon, fandom started when I was a kid. So, and that was the only time I was ever popular for it for the longest time. I even got, like, crap in high school. I got crap in middle school just for liking that, but now I no longer consider it a nerd thing. It's not a part of nerd culture because it's like the MCU. It's mainstream, and you can't use that as a criteria as being a nerd anymore. Kind of the same as like how anime is starting to become, more popular than I've ever seen it. I used to be bullied for that, and I used to be bullied, for liking comic books and stuff. And that's how it was at,
What the naysayers know.
Yeah, but to sort of share a little bit of my thoughts of the entire Star Wars trilogy and say what I think some of the best scenes were, because we've heard a lot from Will and we've heard a lot from Mel. I would like to show off a few Stardust reactions, which we got from you guys.
Could I actually add something?
Oh, yeah, AJ, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say what one of my favorite best things about Star Wars is that
oh, go ahead. Well, that's not going to be the end of this topic. Like, I still have stuff to say, and Calum has stuff to say.
I didn't know if you were all concluding.
Like, I was just going to quickly go on to say one of my favorite scenes. I know a lot of people see this as a meme, but I really like that scene where Obi-Wan is just screaming at Anakin, "You were my brother."
Yeah.
I really like that scene.
The opera house scene.
That was all Ewan McGregor right there. That was all him.
Yeah.
He is great. I can't
things.
wait for the Star Wars Obi-Wan show.
That's
But with that,
great.
we have two reactions. One from, I believe his name is R.E. Jedi Lantern.
R.A.
R.A. Jedi Lantern. I'm sorry, I forgot your A.
Well, he's actually part of the Starvenger Instagram group chat I'm in. His name is Jay, and he is, oh my gosh, he's so insightful and so smart. He got all these different views on topics. So, yeah, if you have Stardust, please go follow him.
Oh, yeah.
We would love to actually get Jay on the show sometime, because I've been watching him.
Essays.
Yeah.
He's shown me essays of him analyzing stuff about Grey Jedi in Star Wars and how that adds deeper meaning to it, which I'll probably get to later, but it's really interesting and insightful.
I think he's a teacher, and he's always talking about the assignments he gives to his students, and they're like mainly on film and their impact.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we can say all we want about this man. We're about to show you his reaction, but first I would actually I have been asked to do something by some of the people in the Starvengers. They are doing their own personal award show.
Yes.
And I'm gonna put a link either in the comments or in the description of where you can vote on this award show. And hopefully they get that going and it's something great. And also, if you guys need guest announcers, we're right here. All right. Let's get this reaction going.
Ooh, Star Wars transition.
Wait.
And now we talk quietly as Chris presses buttons. Chris is pressing buttons with the furious force of 1,000 bulls running over Mufasa.
It's wildebeest, you uncultured swine.
Reactaholics for their show. One of my favorite motion in the new Star Wars trilogy is A different one that I told Calum, this one is from The Last Jedi, is when both Kylo and Rey are trying to pull Anakin's lightsaber that Rey was using. And I like just that visual storytelling of how the lightsaber, it doesn't want to choose the person on the light, it doesn't want to choose the person in the dark, because it knows that the Federers of the past are not the way for the future. You need to find the middle ground, the gray area of it all.
All right. I think that was a good opinion.
It was.
Yeah. I specifically also like that scene where the lightsaber breaks as they're arguing over it. But we actually have another opinion here. This one is by, I don't remember this person's name all the way through, but I know it starts with Bolsa. Bolsa Man. This person also responded. He had his own views on best scenes, and I think he had a good reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And now Chris resumes pressing buttons. There they go.
Star Wars sequels gotta be Luke's fate in The Last Jedi. And looking at this, I'm getting this culture from when I was a kid. I saw that for the first time, and I related to Luke of he can't go with his friends to other places, and the way he put Sean Williams scoring Ryan Johnson is genius. I have problems with Last Jedi that since anything.
Well done, good sir. Well done. And of course, if anyone is interested in following these two wonderful people, of course, go to the Stardust app. Calum, you actually had a third person who couldn't make it into this episode but did react.
A last minute check. There's actually two people here. So, kind of latecomers. Yeah. So I got Squid Jedi here, who's been wanting to be on the show for some time, and obviously we couldn't get his reaction on, but he was mentioning. Now let's see. I'm just gonna watch it again just to remind myself.
Don't watch it. You're on a podcast, man.
Training in The Last Jedi and how he showed.
Oh, yes, now I remember. So, Squid Jedi was talking about the scene where Luke was training Rey, and with the first lesson, talking about how when the light dies, that is vanity, can you feel that? And Rey is meditating on this rock, and she's feeling the Force. Squid Jedi really liked that scene. It was quite insightful to the Force, and gave us some new insight to how the Force works in this Star Wars universe. So, give it that much credit, yes. And then there was Bizarro Guy. He's this bizarre guy who wears sunglasses, and he mentioned the scene where, you know him. He mentioned the scene where Luke was trying to burn the trees, but then the ghost of Yoda appeared and burned down the Jedi Temple and reassured him that, yes, we fail, but the greatest teacher failure is, and they are what we grow beyond. That is the burden of all true masters. That was quite inspiring. So thank you, Bizarro Guy, and thank you, Squid Jedi, for all your goodness.
And of course, thank you anybody who watches the show. If you would like to be on in the future, I strongly recommend that you I'm struggling with my words, but just follow us on Stardust, because we will be giving you topics that you can react to. If you react to these topics, for example, best Star Wars moment, you will maybe be featured in the show. Maybe even be brought on as a guest in the future. So please do that. Use the hashtag Reactaholics and tag one of us.
One of us.
One of us.
And join our cult. But with that, let's get back to this topic a little bit. AJ, I believe you had some things you wanted to say.
I was just going to say what I love most about Star Wars is, out of all the movies, I believe Luke Skywalker has to be one of cinema's greatest protagonists, because when we first meet him, he's just this young man who wants to know more about the world, but doesn't know much about his past life or his simple life, and then everything changes for him. But in a way, we really connect with him, not by his personality, but his journey, what he goes through. And it's very impactful, especially towards the new trilogy where you see him in Last Jedi. And it's just, I don't know, maybe he's definitely probably my favorite Star Wars character, just because of what he went through. And I think that all has to do with Mark Hamill, because he's a fantastic actor. The fact that he played this character for so long is just makes me love the character so much.
I fully agree. I feel like Mark Hamill is going to be one of those legends of acting that only came once in a while. Because the man can voice act, the man can act, the man can sing. Mark Hamill can sing.
Yeah, and which is sad when you have other main protagonists like Anakin, Rey, or even what's her name? She's Rogue One.
Jen Erso.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing terrible about them. It's just Luke's left so much of an impression with the movies, so it's really hard to say like if those three are like really good characters. Although I had to say probably Anakin's my second favorite, then Rey, and then Jin.
So here's the thing, and this is why I like that you brought it up, AJ. I agree with Mark Hamill. I think he's one of the best characters in the thing. But there's another character that sort of hit me the same way that you were describing, and that is Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. I know that I'm going to have to talk about prequels here, but I am of the opinion that Obi-Wan is the best part of those prequels.
Oh yeah, he
is.
I think Obi-Wan is one of the best parts of the Clone Wars TV show, and I think that given Ewan McGregor a show where he gets to play Obi-Wan again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm surprised it took this long, but I'm just really grateful it's happening. For me in Star Wars, did you have something you wanted to say, AJ?
I just was going to add, since I'm a huge fan of Clone Wars, I am surprised that James Arnold Taylor did such an amazing Ewan McGregor impression throughout the entire show.
He did.
Oh, yeah. There was a while when I actually thought it was him.
Yeah.
But in terms of me and Star Wars, I've always had a weird history. I watched the prequels and the new trilogy around the same time, usually mixed in. Like, I don't know if I watched them in the right order at first. I remember really liking Mace Windu because his lightsaber was purple. But I, as a grown man, look back at specifically the Skywalker trilogy. And
Saga.
I gotta say, I feel like people are so mean to Revenge of the Sith. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's the best of the prequels, but that's not saying much. And I'm like, guys, Revenge of the Sith is a really good movie.
It's close to
It's got so many cool scenes.
good. It's close to being good.
I think it is good.
Iconic lines.
Like, obviously, a lot.
Underestimate my power.
But there are serious lines in there, too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of one.
Well, here's the thing, though, about it is just, it's looking back, it is a justifiable statement when people are like, oh, yes, it's the best out of the prequels, but that's not saying much. And you just have to look at, like, especially 2. 2 is so lackluster and so bland. And yes, some good characters did come out of it. Like, I enjoyed the fuck out of Samuel L. Jackson playing Mace Windu. Like, who, and also great, Obi-Wan.
I actually like Attack of the Clone better than Phantom Menace, but maybe that's just because there was no Jar Jar, and I fought Django and Mace, and that whole scene with all the Jedis like in the arena was really cool.
Not to mention
fair.
Christopher Lee. I love Christopher Lee.
Oh, true.
Oh yeah, Dooku and Yoda, dude.
Well, I do think that in a way, people did come across them too harshly, especially, and this is me going to be bashing on the sequels a bit. It's like what I said before, is that you at least got invested into the prequels. It still drew you in, and it was still George Lucas's work, whereas with, the new ones that they do for me so far feel kind of hollow. and lackluster, and I can't get like fully invested. They're not bad, but at the same time, it's just like at least the prequels made a mark. It did not have to be a good mark, but also to, you know, I think it is a fair statement saying Revenge of the Sith was the best one, but not saying a lot because George did throw a lot of his stuff in that did not make it into the first trilogies, and it kind of shows that he should have still been heeding advice, and this was probably a reason why when advice was given that why, you know, people said no, don't throw this in, because it shows. Do I think people are harsh about it? Yes, but not in the same way that I feel like you're trying to portray it, or anyone else here is trying to portray it. I think it's, you know, hey, they happened, they're considered unfortunately canon, and you just have to deal with it, unfortunately.
I mean, what I think it is honestly, have you ever like been at school before and there's just people who you're not supposed to hang out with because they have a bad family, but one of them's really nice? That's Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. I would say Revenge of the Sith would be the one who I tolerate being around the most, but that doesn't mean I necessarily like him.
I mean, I guess just to finish out my thoughts, and then we'll get Calum, and then we can move on to the next topic. When I watch Star Wars, I'm watching to sort of be amazed, and I hope to have a decent enough story. And I like the story of Revenge of the Sith. And also, I don't actually want to talk about this, but I actually think Revenge of the Sith and The Dark Knight are very similar movies. I might go into that in the future, but
it does.
I think there's a lot of comparison. But just to sort of finish my thoughts, the scenes that really keep out to me is when Star Wars does the heart stuff. Like anything with Yoda is cool. I'm one of the few people who really likes Yoda versus Sidious.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Specifically that scene earlier with, I'm not going to say what it is because Mel's here now, but with Kylo, sort of, where you'll know what we're talking about because I said it almost made me cry. The thing I said almost made me cry with Kylo. Right. That's one of my favorite Star Wars scenes ever. I really like just Obi-Wan in the movies. And admittedly, you've opened my eyes a little bit more to Luke here, AJ. I think I underestimated Luke a little bit. He's not a Gary Steve or whatever they're called.
You underestimated his power.
Right side.
Of course, Luke's not a Gary Stu, just like he's not a Mary.
All right, Calum, do you have any highlights or best scenes you want to bring up about or compare? Try to stay focused on the Skywalker saga. I refuse the urge to talk about Rogue One.
Oh,
I like Rogue One.
So, my opinions on the Star Wars saga. Basically, when I watch Star Wars, it's more for the wow factor more than anything, and it changed cinema. Regardless of what you think, it's a landmark in cinema history, and it's still quite strong to this day. I mean, the original trilogy is this kid going on this spiritual journey to become the warrior of justice and peace, and eventually redeem his father. An epic story and timeless, and it's interesting to look at how much of an impact it's had and how much passion people put into it, even into the television shows. Like Gennady Tartakovsky, who made Samurai Jack, was hugely influenced by Star Wars to the point where he was so pleased when he managed to get to work with George Lucas for the brief Clone Wars series that he made, followed by a CGI Clone Wars series, which had its own great moments of spiritual journeys, stuff like that, like Yoda tackling his dark side. That was quite amazing. And just seeing all these characters just go through these spiritual journeys, just tackling, going through trying to conquer their inner demons, just try to restore peace in the galaxy. It's all been great, and I gained even more insight from our Jedi Lantern, who brought in the stuff about the Grey Jedi. Basically, he was saying stuff like how, despite their good intentions, the Jedi Order have relatively primitive views on how to defeat evil because they themselves have been influenced by the dark side over time. So it's up to people like Luke and Rey to manipulate things a little bit to ultimately defeat evil by doing things a little bit differently, which is why I think The Last Jedi worked. It's because it's all about moving on to something new and accepting and learning from your mistakes, basically. That's another thing. As Yoda said, failure is the greatest teacher, and that the prequel trilogy was the downfall of Anakin Skywalker. He was meant to be the chosen one, but he fell. And then Luke learned from his mistakes, and he rose up. But then the other characters learned from their mistakes. Right? They rose up. It's really inspirational, and all with a big spectacle of good versus evil. It's a spectacle, really.
I mean, through The Mandalorian, it seems that Star Wars has learned failure is the greatest teacher with the movies.
Can I just say, like, I mean, I know we have to move on, but I feel like I have to say a couple more things because I feel like they're very.
I'm gonna give you 2 sentences. I'm gonna give you 3 sentences. You get 3.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just Star Wars for me has always been there in some way or another. Like, it's like that really good childhood friend that's always been there, and I know that no matter what it does or what it's going through, it will always be there for me when I need it. Just like, and it will keep teaching me morals as I get older, and it's just never going to leave me. It's like my literal Stardust, and in Stardust name is Darth Potter. And it's a part of my identity, and it's just never going to... Even the stuff I don't like about it, it's just there. It's a part of Star Wars, and it's a part of me. And I'm done. I'm actually
on and on.
Good job. You did it. So we were going to have a second topic here, but we sort of combined it into the topic we just did. And we may save it for a future episode. So what we are doing instead is going directly to our last topic. And I'm excited for this one.
Yes.
So, for those of you who don't know, tomorrow is the day of my birth.
Oh.
Yes, give me your worship. Give me your worship. No.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Neil, whatever the fuck your name is, and you're not pretty, and you need to get off your high horse, and Power Rangers is not that great of a franchise.
Happy birthday to you.
I grovel at your feet, Neil Burris. I grovel at your feet.
Well, you do that every day.
That's true. True.
But because of that, I was told I get to pick my own topic for this episode. No voting system. I just got to pick. So I left it up to you, the loyal people of this channel, what type of topic I should do. Should I do something serious or should I do something funny? And my audience did not fail me. They picked funny. So, ladies and gents, for my amusement, today, on the eve of my birth, I ask you, what movie would be better if instead of the main character, it was me? And carry me through the plot a little bit. Like, this isn't me replacing somebody. Like, I'm not going to play Frodo. No, this is, instead of Frodo Baggins, Neil Burris was there. Neil Burris had to carry the ring and throw it into Mount Doom. And tell me all of the wacky hijinks I get up to. Mel, you said you wanted to go first.
Yep, because mine's very short, sweet, and to the point. You could not replace any character. You want to know why? Because any character, no matter how good or bad, still has a... No
still has a what?
No matter how many movies I put in my... What?
Still has a what? You cut out for a
I
second.
didn't. At what part?
I heard you saying any movie.
No.
Here, I'll do a Mel impression. Any movie character that is good or bad still has a, and then I couldn't hear the rest.
Okay. Bad impression, by the way.
For the record, that was
it's
me
on
talking
purpose.
and not actually Mel.
I think our audience isn't dumb. You give them such little credit if you think you is my own. But no, Neil would just make the movie 100 times worse.
Oh.
Period.
Now, I raise this insult and argue back. Wouldn't it be cool if I was in the room?
I had that idea. Now I have to think of something else.
No, you can go ahead, Will.
No, think something else.
It would not be cool that you were in the room.
Chris.
Well, I'm going to speak for Chris here. Chris said I would be like that one character from the movie Freddy Got Fingered. That movie is terrible, it's stupid, and you insult me greatly by saying that. I love you. Who even is that character? It's just...
That's my opinion. So I'll pass it on to AJ. Let's see if she will be nicer than me.
Well, the thing is, like, I just joined the group chat, so I feel like I don't know everyone as much as everybody else does, but for some reason, this is the first thing that popped in my head. I would love to see...
Please tell me, AJ.
I would love to see you play Tom Hanks' character of Forrest Gump. Is that
I thought we
bad,
threw out the idea of roasting me.
What?
No, I actually like that idea because, like...
Did I sound mean?
Oh, no, not at all. AJ, I say this honestly.
It's okay.
The world can't hurt me. Words can't hurt me.
Okay,
I am immortal.
I apologize if I did.
Oh, no, you didn't at all. I thought it was funny.
Okay. I don't know, it's just like...
said life was like a box of chocolates.
I was gonna say, I love that movie, and I love that character, and I think you have, like, the energy and acting skills for it.
I thank you for saying that. Tom Hanks, AJ thinks I'm better than you. So bring it on. My mama always told me life is like a box of chocolates. I can do it. All right. Will, Calum, my most loyal of apprentices.
Calum, you go
Please.
first.
Okay.
Callum, you and I have known each other for like 3 years now.
Mhm.
You've become a very close friend.
Yeah.
I expect you to have a good one.
Oh yeah, I've got a good one for you. Now, I will just say straight out that none of you have ever heard of this. It was a film I saw recently, but I think this could easily be improved by your mere presence. Basically, this is called State of Play. It was a 2009 political thriller film, and it was based on a 6-part British television serial of the same name. Basically, in this film, Russell Crowe is this detective, and he's solving this case in which this character played by Ben Affleck is accused of adultery, and he's working with all these other female sidekicks played by Helen Mirren and, what was her name? Rachel McAdams. And it's, I know you, Neil, you like mysteries, thriller stuff. So, and unfortunately, State of Play is one of those films that once you watch it, there's not really much to go back to. However, if you were the main lead, or just implanted into the film, there would be some people who think, I need to see that again. What on earth is that man doing?
I mean, I definitely think that in terms of detective skills, I might be better than Russell Crowe. I know that's a broad statement. But no, I haven't seen that movie, and now I actually really want to go see it.
Don't consider yourselves high expectations, but people say it's good.
I'm disappointed no one has chosen a romance movie yet.
Don't.
I had something for you, Neil. Planet of the Kneales.
Go on.
God, that would be more like a horror movie.
Are you saying instead of Planet of the Apes, it's a bunch of me's?
That's actually pretty funny
Yes.
because I watched the first 2 original movies, so I would love to see the first movie and sequels, but with Neil.
I'm just imagining like a scientist Neil experimenting on other humans.
Oh, are we talking about the new Planet of the Apes or the old Planet of the Apes?
Any
That's
Planet,
up to
of the
Will.
Apes, any Planet of the Apes movie, but instead of apes, they're all Kneales.
I was talking about the old Planet of the Apes.
I'm just imagining.
It's
you
your
really-
birthday, whatever Planet of the
I'm
Apes you want.
imagining that you really ruined the Statue of Liberty. One of us comes along and used to say, "You maniac! You shipped it! Darn it!"
Looks like
You
Chris had the same
maniac.
idea.
You graffitied the Statue of Liberty.
You
Well,
What was Chris's idea?
He said in the message.
Okay, I'll read it. Oh.
Nah,
Okay.
what do you say?
Oh, okay. Instead of the Statue of Liberty, it's a statue of Neil buried in the sand. I approve. I also like the idea that like just all the other actors are the same. So I really
I'm
really like the idea of
gonna have my
get your paws off me, you dang dirty Neil.
Oh my gosh, you and Chris have the same mind.
Do we?
Though he just said what
Chris,
you
I
just
love
said.
you.
Yeah,
I
he
love you.
just messaged that at the same time when you said you damn dirty Neil. You said it almost simultaneously.
I mean, I didn't
Kinda
say the
scary,
D word
which also
because I'm
proves my
shackled.
homophobic.
And now for the ultimate crossover. All the Nazi clone Neils with the violins going against the sand people.
Okay.
We'll win. We'll win. Oh no, that's a reference to an inside joke. Calum knows.
I think if I really have to do this, I think I thought of a good one.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Instead of, I'm trying to remember the name. Instead of Anne Hathaway, I think that's the actress who plays Devil Wears Prada. It was you instead.
Oh, I thought you were going to put me in the Black Swan. But that wasn't Anne Hathaway, was it? That was Natalie Portman.
No.
You would have gone to Kiss Mila Kunis, you lucky son of a bitch.
Well, you said like you being like, I'm surprised nobody's throwing me in like a romance thing, and it's just like, well, I wouldn't say that you would be like ideal for a romance, but if we're gonna get kind of
How about this? Every Lifetime or Hallmark. Yeah. How about this? Every Lifetime or Hallmark movie ever made, except both of the romantic leads are played by Neil.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
hit. Why are you guys turning movies that weren't horror
Was
movies?
Neil
Because I'm demented and I created this.
I will have no part in this.
Yeah, and this is why you can never rule the world. This will be played if you ever run for president, and I will make
So
sure of
fun
that. Being
fact.
like, you want to think twice? Oh, that's being him.
Fun fact, I'm actually going to take this completely seriously. I think that a movie that would actually be...
That's worth.
I think a movie that would actually be improved if the main character was removed and instead it was me is I don't remember what year it came out, but it is the Muppets movie before Muppets Most Wanted, and I would replace Walter. Because here's the thing.
2010 or 2011.
I think you might be right. I think it might have been 11, but
That makes sense.
For those of you
You're a Muppets fan.
who don't know, I'm a big Muppets fan. Walter is this new character they created that essentially is the Muppets' biggest fan. And he has this big desire to go and bring back the Muppets when an oil baron is trying to shut down the Muppet studio. I, my entire life, have been such a big fan of the Muppets. And I credit the Muppets to teaching me what creativity is. Because, like, when I was young, I sort of realized you could turn this this sock puppet into a full-dimensional character. Like, when you look at him, that's not a puppet, that's Kermit, and that's Miss Piggy, and that's Fozzie. If you can see these things as beings, even though they're just felt and plastic and stuff, that alone is a big feat. But the story they tell in the original Muppets movie of Kermit just wanting to go and make people happy, and along the way, he picks up a family who wants the same goal. And he faces his demons at the end when Doc Hopper is going to get him, and it's through that family that he gets through it. Animal has to save him. I really love the original Muppets. So if there is one person that I think should have been in there instead of Walter, because I like Walter, he's good for the story, but he doesn't have a lot of character to him besides being a Muppet fanboy. He's not used well in the sequel. And I feel like if Walter was a human, a real, actual fan of the Muppets,
he'd be you.
Maybe even our first human Muppet, he'd be more interesting. And God knows, if I thought I could bring the Muppets back now, I'd be in Hollywood trying this very moment.
Wait, so Neil, are you implying that David Bowie wasn't a Muppet?
Tra-la-la.
Unfortunately, David Bowie is not a Muppet. I know.
Harry?
I know. Controversial, I know. But, yeah, no, so that's my serious answer. My joke answer is Godzilla.
Yes.
I'm Godzilla.
You terrorize Japanese people.
Well, not just Japanese. I would be like an equality Godzilla.
You haven't seen Godzilla, so you don't get the right. You don't get the right.
Fine, King Kong. I've seen that one.
You haven't seen an ounce of Godzilla, so no.
I'll pick King Kong.
One.
I've seen the original, but I'll pick the Peter Jackson one. That way, I have better effects.
Whatever.
And also the Ninja Turtles.
Oh my God.
Has Mikey.
I was about to say which one.
Mikey, I am Mikey.
Which Ninja Turtles movie though?
You know what? Just put me in all the movies. I'm talking 21 Neal Street, The Creature of the Neil Lagoon, 50 Shades of Neil, Neil Wars,
Citizen Neil,
The Neil Avengers, Citizen Neil, Neil and Morty.
Neil LaBlanca.
You haven't seen half of the stuff you've listed. Have you ever seen Citizen Kane?
That's on my list.
I have seen Citizen Kane. I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey, though.
Okay.
You're a good film
That's
watcher.
all that.
Okay, that was all that.
You don't need.
Let's end it.
But real talk, in terms of my birthday, thank you everybody for giving me something here and stroking my ego a little bit. And more importantly, thank you to everybody watching. You guys have been very supportive in the comments and stuff. And, you know, earlier into all this, you helped me through a rough patch in my life. So I'm really thankful. And actually, I would once again like to, just on my birthday, if you're willing, bring up Autism Speaks. Once again, this is a charity we like to promote here on the Reactaholics channel. And to an extension, Salunatics. I've actually been more in contact with people who are higher on the spectrum lately. And in terms of events to get fundraisers going or social events for people to meet each other who have this, I think that they just are really good about this. So please, just as a personal favor for me, I know you've already subscribed, I know you already comment, but just if you're willing, do me a favor and give a little bit of money to Autism Speaks. I'm not asking a lot, $1 or so. I'll be donating 5. Because I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. All right. With that, ladies and gents, this has been another amazing episode of Reactaholics, and I think this was a pretty good. The start of season 3. Make those ships happen.
No, please don't.
Please.
If you have a soul.
You know, behind the scenes, I was like running that joke by everybody, and God, Mattel fell like a rock. Did Calum leave?
Yeah, he did.
He doesn't like it when I joke about romance. Just doesn't like it. Well, anyways, let's go through everybody and sign off. AJ, where can everybody find you at?
Well, you can find me on Stardust. I am AJHeb15. I was below the screen, but since Calum left, I'm now Darth Potter 7.
And I'm still the same. Oh, damn it. Thank myself. Go ahead, AJ.
Chris, I'm so sorry. But yeah, basically that. I'm also on Instagram, but that's mainly for black and white photography. So if you really want to just hear my movie opinions, go to Stardust.
I actually like your photography. You got good stuff on there.
Oh, yeah, you do. It's really good.
All right. Will, where can we find you at, my friend?
You can find me on Stardust at Darth Potter 7. And still trying to get stuff on my own YouTube channel, which is proving quite difficult, but it's a process. It's a process. My YouTube channel, by the way, in case you're interested, even though there's like nothing on it, is WJS Productions.
And your Stardust is Darth Potter?
Darth Potter 7, yes.
All right. Calum's not here, so I'm actually going to give you his information, but I encourage you to unsubscribe. Go to Calum's YouTube channel, Scott Smyer, and unsubscribe from him, and unfollow his Instagram and his Stardust.
Is this because he left without saying anything?
Yep. Unsubscribe, send him a message and say, "You have wronged Neil." But then resubscribe and send him a winky face.
And you see,
confuse and emotion.
Why you never have to apologize or worry about being mean. They're dicks to each other all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that man.
And
don't actually unsubscribe to him.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to.
And remember, kids, the moral of the story is, no matter what your opinions are on Star Wars, we can all agree that the holiday special is pure cinematic gold.
And remember, kids, Mel hasn't done her outro yet. So, Mel, you want to say where we can find you at?
Sorry.
Give me a second. I have to swallow back the vomit from hearing that. Anyway, so yes, you can follow me on Stardust at Imperfect Space Vanity. And actually, since my birthday's coming up really soon, I kind of have a goal of hopefully maybe getting to 1,000 followers before April 24th. So much appreciate if you guys do or like my content. You can also find me on Instagram at imperfect_vanity. And I'm almost at 600 on there. But yeah, but anywhere that says Imperfect Vanity or my first and last name, you can find me at more than likely, except for YouTube. That shit private.
Once again, everybody try to get Mel to 1,000 because we'll have a little party here on the show.
Oh yeah.
But
1,000 before April. My birthday wish.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I am Dr. Neeltopus. You can find me here on this channel. You can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Neeltopus. And soon to be, I will be returning to Stardust. And you'll be able to find me there at Dr. Neeltopus.
Back on Stardust, but I need somebody's help with this error. But yes, it's been fun.
Also, our director, Chris, has a Twitch channel, which will always be in the chat. And also, just because we love him, go subscribe to I'm Just Ron. He's doing great things with his interview show. And he is a Wonderful, wonderful person. Ron is just so chill. I love him. So how do we want to end this episode, guys?
Say goodnight to Baby Yoda.
Well,
Happy
I
life,
think
everyone.
I know how.
Happy Life Day, Baby Yoda.
No happy life day.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Baby Yoda. Good night, AJ. Good night, everybody. And sleep tight. I'll check on everyone in the morning. I'll read you a bedtime story after you're already asleep.
He will literally, like, trust me, he's done this to me. He will literally, like, lean over you as you're sleeping, just be right in your face.
Reading a story. Reading a story. I don't know you. These are lies and slander. Have a nice night. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Got it.